The emergency alarms echoed through the massive halls of the Galactic Council chambers. Red lights flashed across the curved walls as thousands of alien delegates rushed to their seats. Some floated in energy bubbles, others crawled on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure light patterns. But they all shared one thing: fear. Ambassador Zephyrian stood at the center of the great chamber. His blue skin had turned pale, and his forearms trembled as he held the datapad. The tall, thin alien had served the Council for over 200 years, but no one had ever seen him look so scared. "Honored Council members," Zephyrian began, his voice shaking. "Long-range sensors have detected massive energy readings from Sector 7 Alpha. The readings are artificial. Someone has broken through the barrier." A wave of shocked whispers filled the chamber. Some delegates made clicking sounds with their mandibles. Others flashed different colors to show their fear. The crystalline beings chimed like broken bells. Elder Counselor Vexthan slowly rose from his throne. He was ancient, even by galactic standards. His gray, wrinkled skin told stories of thousands of years. His 6 eyes looked tired and worried as he gazed down at the gathered delegates. "Silence," Vexthan commanded. His voice was deep and carried across the chamber without effort. "What you are about to hear must never leave this room. The truth about Sector 7 Alpha has been hidden for 3,000 years. The chamber fell completely quiet. Even the energy beings stopped their humming. Vexthan activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed a spiral arm of the galaxy marked in red. Warning symbols covered the entire area. 3 millennia ago, our exploration fleets discovered a young species on the 3rd planet of a small yellow star. They called their world Earth and themselves humans. The initial reports seemed normal. Just another primitive species that would take thousands of years to develop space travel. The hologram zoomed in to show a blue and green planet. Images of early humans appeared, primitive beings using stone tools and living in small groups. But our scientists studied them closer, Vexthan continued. What they found terrified the Council of that time. These humans were different from any species we had ever encountered. The images changed to show humans fighting with primitive weapons. Vexthan pointed to the battles with his long, clawed finger. They were incredibly violent, but not in the way of mindless beasts. They fought with strategy and cunning. They made weapons specifically designed to kill their own kind. But what scared our ancestors most was their ability to unite former enemies against common threats. More images flashed across the hologram. Humans building cities, developing technology, spreading across their planet. The humans advanced faster than any species in recorded history. Our scientists calculated that if left alone, they would develop space travel within 5,000 years. But that was not the worst part. Vexthan paused and looked around the chamber. Every eye, sensor, and light pattern was focused on him. The worst part was their biology. Humans could survive in environments that would kill most of us. They could go without food for weeks, without water for days. Their bodies could heal from wounds that would be fatal to other species. And most terrifying of all, they seemed to get stronger when faced with challenges. A delegate from the hive mind species stood up. Its insect-like body clicked as it spoke. What did the ancient council decide? Vexthan's expression grew even more grave. They decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed into galactic civilization, so they built the most powerful containment system ever created. The hologram changed to show a massive energy barrier surrounding the entire solar system. The barrier looked like a soap bubble made of pure light, completely encasing the sun and all its planets. The isolation zone, Vexthan said, a quantum barrier that nothing could pass through. It was designed to be invisible from the inside, making the humans believe they were alone in the universe. The plan was to keep them contained until they either destroyed themselves or remained primitive forever. A crystalline delegate chimed a question. How long was the barrier supposed to last? Forever, Vexthan replied simply. The barrier was powered by the energy of their own star. As long as their sun burned, the barrier would remain. It should have been impossible to break from the inside. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions in hundreds of different languages. Some species made alarm calls. Others began calculations on their personal devices. Silence. Vexthan roared, his voice echoing off the walls. There is more you must know. When quiet returned, he continued. For 3,000 years we have monitored the humans from a distance. We watched them develop nuclear weapons and nearly destroy themselves. We watched them learn to fly, then reach their moon. We thought they would remain trapped forever. But yesterday everything changed, Zephyrian interrupted, stepping forward with his datapad. Our sensors detected 12 massive objects emerging from the barrier zone. The quantum barrier has been completely destroyed. The hologram now showed 12 enormous ships floating in space. They were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Where Council ships were smooth and elegant, these were angular and aggressive. They looked like they were built for war. The energy signatures from these ships are unlike anything in our databases, Zephyrian continued. Their technology appears to be completely different from ours. And the size? Each ship is larger than our biggest battle cruisers. A delegate from the peaceful Altarian species spoke up, its voice filled with fear. Have they made any attempt to communicate? Yes, Zephyrian replied, his voice barely a whisper. They have been broadcasting the same message on all frequencies for the past 12 hours. What does it say? Vexthon asked. Zephyrian activated his datapad and a human voice filled the chamber. The words were translated into the common galactic language, but something about the tone made every delegate feel uneasy. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Endeavor. We represent the United Earth Systems Alliance. We know you are out there. We know you have been watching us. We know about the barrier you placed around our system. We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves. We request immediate diplomatic contact with the galactic governing body. We have much to discuss. The message ended and the chamber fell silent again. The implications hit every delegate at once. The humans not only had broken free, but they knew about the quarantine. They had known they were being contained. How is this possible? A delegate whispered. Vexthon sat back down heavily in his throne. For the first time in centuries, the ancient leader looked truly afraid. I do not know, he admitted. Our best scientists said the barrier was unbreakable. Even if the humans had developed advanced technology, they should not have been able to detect it, let alone destroy it. What do we do now? Another delegate asked. Vexthon was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of thousands of years of decisions. We respond to their request for diplomatic contact. We have no choice. The cage we built to contain them has been broken, and now we must face the consequences of our ancient decision. And if they are hostile? The hive mind delegate asked. Vexthon looked at the images of the human ships still displayed in the hologram. Then may the stars have mercy on us all. We created this situation by trying to contain a species we feared. Now we must live with the results. The emergency session continued as delegates argued about what to do next. But deep down, every member of the council knew the truth. After 3,000 years of hiding, humanity had found them, and there was no telling what these descendants of the primitive species would do to those who had imprisoned them. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Endeavor, looking out at the vast emptiness of space beyond their former prison. After 300 years of knowing they were trapped, humanity was finally free to explore the galaxy their ancestors had dreamed about. Captain, called Lieutenant Rodriguez from the communications station. We're receiving multiple incoming signals. Looks like a fleet approaching from the galactic core direction. Sarah nodded calmly. She had expected this. Humanity had been preparing for first contact for over 2 centuries, ever since they had first detected the quantum barrier around their solar system. How many ships? She asked. Sensors show 47 vessels, reported Commander Zhang from the tactical station. Various sizes and configurations. They're moving in standard military formation. Sarah smiled grimly. Standard military formation meant they were either coming to negotiate or to fight. Either way, humanity was ready. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Battle stations, but do not power weapons unless fired upon. We're here to make friends if possible, but we won't be anyone's victims. The human fleet consisted of 12 ships, each one representing the best of human engineering and determination. Unlike the smooth, curved designs preferred by most species, human ships were angular and practical. They were built to take damage and keep fighting. Designed by a species that had learned warfare from the very beginning of their existence, Admiral Korath commanded the Council fleet from his flagship, the Stellar Harmony. The reptilian warrior had fought in 17 different conflicts across the galaxy and had never lost a battle. But as he looked at the human ships on his display screen, he felt something he had not experienced in decades. Uncertainty. Analysis report, he ordered his tactical officer. Sir, their ship designs are completely unknown. Heavy armor plating, multiple redundant systems, and what appears to be kinetic weapon systems. Kinetic weapons? Admiral Korath hissed in surprise. No one has used primitive kinetic weapons in thousands of years. Energy shields make them useless, yes, sir. That's what makes this strange. Why would an advanced species use outdated weapons? Admiral Korath studied the human ships more carefully. They looked dangerous in a way that Council ships did not. Where Council vessels were built for exploration and occasional conflict, these ships looked like they were designed for only one purpose: war. Open a communication channel, he ordered. Let us see what these humans have to say. Captain Chen received the incoming communication and nodded to her crew. This is it, people. First contact with an alien species. Remember your training and stay calm. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Korath. His scaled face and yellow eyes made him look fearsome, but Sarah had seen worse things in human history books. Unknown vessels, Admiral Korath began, his voice deep and threatening. You are in violation of galactic containment protocols. Return to your isolation zone immediately or face the consequences. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Not exactly the diplomatic greeting they had hoped for, but not surprising either. Admiral Korath, I presume, she replied calmly. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Systems Alliance. We are no longer bound by containment protocols that were imposed without our consent. We come in peace and request formal diplomatic contact with the Galactic Council. That is not possible, Admiral Korath replied. You will return to your system or be forced to return. Sarah sighed. Humanity had hoped for a peaceful first contact, but they had prepared for this possibility too. Admiral, I need you to understand something, she said, her voice remaining calm but taking on a harder edge. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for over 200 years. We know about the barrier. We know about the Council. And we know that you're afraid of us. But fear does not give you the right to imprison an entire species. You are contained for the safety of the galaxy, Admiral Korath growled. You will return, or we will make you return. Sarah looked around her bridge at her crew. They all nodded slightly, confirming they were ready for what might come next. Admiral, I'm going to give you one chance to reconsider. We have much to offer the galaxy, but we will not be prisoners anymore. Stand down and allow us to proceed to Council space for diplomatic talks. Never, Admiral Korath replied. All ships prepare to fire. Drive these primitives back to their cage. The communication channel closed and alarms began sounding on both fleets. Well, Sarah said to her crew, diplomacy was worth a try. All ships weapons free. Show them what 3,000 years of human warfare development looks like. The battle that followed shocked everyone who witnessed it. The Council fleet fired first, sending powerful energy beams toward the human ships. The humans' response was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Instead of trying to dodge the energy weapons, the human ships flew directly into the attacks. Their armor absorbed incredible amounts of damage while their own weapons fired back. But these were not energy weapons like the Council expected. The human ships fired solid metal projectiles at tremendous speeds. The Council's energy shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against chunks of metal moving at significant fractions of light speed. Impossible, Admiral Korath whispered, as he watched his ship's shields fail one after another. How are they penetrating our defenses? His tactical officer was frantically checking readings. Sir, their weapons appear to be accelerating solid matter to extreme velocities. Our shields are designed for energy weapons, not physical projectiles. But the real shock came when the Council ships managed to hit human vessels. Instead of being destroyed or disabled like normal ships, the human vessels continued fighting. Their crews seemed to ignore damage that would have killed any other species. Sir, one of Admiral Korath's officers reported, we're receiving damage reports from the human ships we've hit. They're showing injuries that should be fatal, but their crew members are still at their stations. Admiral Korath watched in amazement as a human ship that had lost half its hull continued to fire with perfect accuracy. Through the hole in their ship, he could see human crew members working at their stations, some of them clearly injured but refusing to stop. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it ended, 31 Council ships were disabled or destroyed. The human fleet had taken heavy damage, but all 12 ships were still operational. As Admiral Korath prepared for the final human attack that would destroy his remaining ships, something unexpected happened. Captain Chen appeared on his communication screen again. Admiral Korath, she said, we're prepared to offer medical assistance to your wounded and engineering support to repair your damaged ships. Admiral Korath stared at her in confusion. You defeated us. Why would you help us? Sarah's expression softened slightly. Because despite your attempt to force us back into imprisonment, we still hope for peaceful relations with the galactic community. We fought to defend our freedom, not to conquer anyone. This makes no sense, Admiral Korath said. In galactic warfare, the victor typically claims the defeated fleet as salvage. Admiral, Sarah replied, you're thinking like someone who fights for conquest. Humans fight for survival and for what we believe is right. We believe in freedom, not just for ourselves, but for others too. Our offer of help stands. Admiral Korath looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was injured, and his ship's systems were failing. By all galactic standards, he should be dead or captured by now. I accept your offer, he said slowly. But I do not understand your species. You will, Sarah said with a slight smile. We have a lot to teach each other. But first, let's get your people the medical attention they need. As human medical teams transferred to council ships to help the wounded, Admiral Korath sent an emergency message to the council chambers. The humans have won, he reported. But they are not what we expected. They fight like demons, but they show mercy like saints. I recommend immediate diplomatic contact. We are dealing with something far more complex than simple conquerors. In the council chambers, Elder Counselor Vexthan received the report with growing concern. A species that could win battles and choose mercy was far more dangerous than simple warriors. It meant they had principles, and principled enemies were the hardest to predict or control. Prepare for the human delegation, he ordered. It appears we will be meeting our former prisoners face to face. The Nexus Station had never seen anything like it. The massive space station, which served as the diplomatic center of the galaxy, was buzzing with activity as representatives from thousands of species arrived for the largest council gathering in recorded history. Ambassador Marcus Rivera stood in the docking bay of the human shuttle, straightening his formal diplomatic uniform. At 55 years old, he was one of humanity's most experienced negotiators, though he had never negotiated with aliens before. Behind him stood his delegation of 12 humans, each an expert in different fields. Remember, Rivera said to his team, we're not here to intimidate anyone. We're here to find our place in the galactic community, but we also won't be pushed around or treated as primitives. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the team's scientist, checked her datapad one final time. The technological demonstrations are ready, Marcus. If they want to see what we've accomplished during our isolation, we can show them. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Rivera replied. But if it does, make sure they understand that we're not the same species they locked away 3,000 years ago. The shuttle bay doors opened, and the human delegation stepped onto Nexus Station. The station was a marvel of galactic engineering, with corridors that curved in impossible directions and gravity fields that allowed beings to walk on walls and ceilings. Hundreds of alien beings lined the corridors to watch the humans pass. Some floated in energy bubbles, others skittered on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure thought patterns visible only as shimmering lights. But despite their differences, they all showed the same reaction. When they saw the humans, fear mixed with curiosity. They're smaller than I expected, clicked a insectoid, delegate to his companion. Size means nothing, replied a crystalline being. Look at how they move, like predators who are completely confident in their environment. Rivera could hear the whispered conversations as his delegation walked through the corridors, but he kept his expression calm and friendly. The truth was, humans were nervous too. They had dreamed of this moment for centuries, but now that it was here, the weight of representing their entire species felt overwhelming. The council chambers were even more impressive than the corridors. The vast circular room could hold thousands of delegates, with seating arranged in complex patterns to accommodate different types of beings. At the center sat Elder Counselor Vexthan on his ancient throne. As the human delegation entered, a complete silence fell over the chamber. Rivera walked calmly to the center of the room, where a platform had been prepared for him to address the council. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Rivera began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. I am Ambassador Marcus Rivera, representing the United Earth Systems Alliance. We come before you today not as supplicants requesting entry into your civilization, but as equals seeking our rightful place among the stars. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. The word equals had not been used by a newcomer species in thousands of years. Elder Counselor Vexthan leaned forward on his throne. Ambassador Rivera, you speak of equality, but your species was contained for good reason. What assurance can you give us that humanity has evolved beyond the violent tendencies that caused our ancestors to fear you? Rivera smiled slightly. Honored Elder, I think there has been a misunderstanding. We were not contained because we were violent. You were afraid because we were effective at violence. There is a difference. Explain, Vexthan commanded. Violence is random destruction without purpose, Rivera continued. What humans practice is warfare. Organized, strategic conflict with clear objectives. We fight when we must, but we always fight to win and to protect what matters to us. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward and activated a holographic display. If I may, Ambassador, she turned to address the Council. During our isolation, humanity faced a choice. We could have turned our warrior instincts on ourselves and destroyed our species. Instead, we channeled those instincts into progress. The hologram showed images of human colonies throughout their solar system and beyond. Massive cities on Mars, mining operations in the asteroid belt, and research stations around the outer planets. We have colonized 17 star systems beyond Sol, Rivera announced. Our population stands at over 40 billion humans across dozens of worlds. We have eliminated poverty, disease, and resource scarcity through technology and cooperation. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. 40 billion was larger than many established galactic civilizations. Impossible, declared a delegate from the hive mind species. No species develops interstellar colonization capabilities while contained in a single system. Dr. Vasquez smiled. You're thinking in terms of your technology. We developed differently. She changed the holographic display to show human ships. We learned to build vessels that could travel for centuries while supporting entire populations. When we finally broke through your barrier, we already had the infrastructure of a galactic civilization. How did you break the barrier? Vexthan asked. Our scientists assured us it was impenetrable. It was impenetrable from the outside, Rivera replied. But you made one critical error. You powered it using our own sun. We spent 200 years studying that energy flow, learning from it, and eventually turning it into a tool for our own development. The implications hit the council like a shockwave. The humans had not just escaped their prison, they had used the prison itself to become stronger. But perhaps the most important thing you should know, Rivera continued, is that we have known about the quarantine for over 2 centuries. We have been preparing for this day since before your current council members were born. A delegate from the peaceful Altarian species stood up. If you knew about the quarantine, why didn't you try to communicate with us sooner? Rivera's expression became more serious. Because we wanted to be sure we were ready for whatever we might find out here. Our studies of the barrier told us that whoever built it was both highly advanced and very afraid of us. We needed to decide what kind of species we wanted to be when we met our jailers. And what did you decide? Vexthan asked quietly. We decided to be exactly what we have always been, Rivera replied. Protectors. Humanity fights not for conquest but to defend what we value, and now we value the idea of a peaceful galactic community. Dr. Vasquez activated another display. We have technologies that could benefit every species in this chamber. Medical treatments that can extend lifespans. Terraforming techniques that can create new worlds, and defensive systems that can protect against any threat. What do you want in return? Asked a crystalline delegate, its chimes sounding suspicious. Membership in the Galactic Council as equals, Rivera answered simply. We want to explore the galaxy, trade with other species, and contribute to galactic civilization. We want what every intelligent species wants, a place among the stars and the freedom to determine our own destiny. And if we refuse? Vexthan asked. Rivera was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Then we will continue expanding and developing on our own, as we have been doing for the past 3,000 years. But we would prefer to do it as friends rather than as strangers. The chamber fell silent as the implications of his words sank in. Humanity was not asking permission to join the galactic community. They were offering the Council a chance to be part of humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Admiral Korath, who had been invited to observe the session, stood up. Honored Council, I fought against these humans. They defeated a superior force through tactics and determination I have never seen. But when they had won, they offered medical aid to their enemies. They are warriors, yes, but they are honorable warriors. A delegate from the militaristic Krex Confederation spoke up. What about expansion? How many systems do you intend to claim? Rivera smiled. As many as we need. Our population grows by several million each year. We will continue to expand until we have enough room for all of humanity to thrive. But we have no interest in taking inhabited worlds. The galaxy is vast enough for everyone. Elder Counselor Vexthon looked around the chamber at his fellow delegates. He could see the fear in their faces, but also a growing realization. Humanity was offering partnership, not conquest. But they were also making it clear that they would continue their expansion with or without Council approval. The Council will need time to consider your proposal, Vexthon said finally. Of course, Rivera replied. But while you deliberate, I should mention that our deep space sensors have detected something approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Something large and moving in our direction. We estimate it will reach Council space in approximately 6 months. What kind of something? Vexthon asked, suddenly alert. Dr. Vasquez brought up new displays showing sensor readings from the edge of the galaxy. Unknown ships using technologies we don't recognize. The energy signatures suggest a fleet of massive proportions, possibly thousands of vessels. The Council chamber erupted in alarm. An invasion from outside the galaxy was every civilization's worst nightmare. Rivera waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. Honored Council, it seems the galaxy may soon face a threat that will require all of us working together. The emergency session had been going on for 18 hours straight. In the private chambers of the Galactic Council's inner circle, the most powerful beings in the galaxy were struggling with an impossible decision. Elder Counselor Vexthon sat at the head of the circular table, his ancient face showing the strain of the situation. Around him sat the leaders of the major galactic civilizations, each one dealing with the shocking reality of humanity's emergence. The reports keep getting worse, announced Collective Prime Zara 9, the synthetic representative of the AI Collective. Her holographic form flickered as she processed data streams from across the galaxy. 3 more systems have declared neutrality and requested human protection. The Virax hive mind has calculated humanity's expansion rate and predicts they will control a quarter of the galaxy within 200 years. It's the speed that terrifies me, added Director Kental of the Ethereal Republic. The crystalline being's light patterns showed deep concern. We have spent 10,000 years reaching our current level of development. These humans did the same in 3,000 years while trapped in a single system. High Admiral Zarian of the Krex War State slammed his armored fist on the table. Then we destroy them now before they become unstoppable. Every day we wait, they grow stronger. With what? Snorted Supreme Minister Veldon of the Trade Federation. Your war games have been a disaster. Every simulation shows us losing badly against human forces. Admiral Zarian's red eyes glowed with anger. The simulations must be wrong. No species could be that effective in combat. The simulations are based on actual combat data from Admiral Korath's encounter. Collective Prime Zara 9 replied coldly. The humans fight like they enjoy it. They use tactics we've never seen and weapons that make no logical sense yet somehow work perfectly. Elder Counselor Vexthon pulled up a holographic display showing the latest intelligence reports. What concerns me most is their infrastructure. Our spies report that every human colony is essentially a fortress world. Their industrial capacity already exceeds ours, and they're building more ships faster than we can count them. How is that possible? Director Kental asked. They only emerged from containment 6 months ago, because they were preparing for this scenario for centuries, Vexthon replied grimly. While we thought they were safely contained, they were studying our barrier and using it to develop technologies we can't even understand. Supreme Minister Veldon activated his own display. The economic projections are equally troubling. If humanity continues their current growth rate, they'll control 60% of galactic trade within 50 years, not through conquest, but simply through expansion and efficiency. They're offering very favorable trade agreements, admitted Trade Representative Colwyn of the Merchant Guilds. Better than anything we've seen in centuries. Several systems are already switching to human trade partners. Can you blame them? Veldon asked. Human manufacturing is incredibly efficient. Their quality standards are higher than ours, and they actually honor their contracts. They're not trying to take over trade, they're just better at it than we are. Admiral Zarian stood up angrily. You're all talking like we've already lost. We still have numerical superiority. We still control the government of this galaxy. Do we? Asked a new voice from the chamber entrance. Ambassador Rivera entered the room, flanked by 2 human guards. Forgive the intrusion, but I believe we need to talk. How did you get in here? Admiral Zarian demanded, reaching for his weapon. We asked nicely, Rivera replied with a smile. Your security systems are very impressive, but humans have been getting into places we're not supposed to for our entire history. Elder Counselor Vexthon gestured for calm. Ambassador Rivera, this is a private session. What do you want? To save all of us some time, Rivera said, taking a seat at the table without being invited. We know you're debating whether to accept us as equals or try to destroy us. We also know that your military advisors have told you that a war against humanity would be catastrophic for everyone involved. Are you threatening us? Admiral Zarian growled. Not at all, Rivera replied calmly. I'm stating facts. Humanity doesn't want to fight the Council. We have better things to do with our time, but we also won't be anyone's prisoners ever again. What do you propose? Vexathon asked. Rivera activated a small device and a holographic display appeared above the table. Integration, not domination. The galaxy is vast enough for everyone. We expand into unclaimed systems, you keep your existing territories, and we all work together for mutual benefit. And if we refuse? Director Chental asked. Then we expand anyway, Rivera said simply, with or without your approval. The only difference is whether we do it as allies or as neighbors who don't talk to each other. Supreme Minister Veldon leaned forward. You're very confident for someone representing a species that was imprisoned for 3 millennia. Rivera's expression became more serious. Minister, I need you to understand something. Humanity spent those 3 millennia learning about conflict, survival, and determination. We didn't just break free from your prison. We used the experience to become stronger. Every challenge you threw at us, every limitation you imposed, just taught us new ways to overcome obstacles. That's what frightens us, Vexthon admitted. It shouldn't, Rivera replied. Fear leads to bad decisions. The ancient council was afraid of what humans might become, so they locked us away. That decision created the very situation you're afraid of now. We became isolated, self-reliant, and suspicious of outside control. Collective Prime Zara 9 processed this information quickly. You're suggesting that our containment policy created the problem we're trying to solve. Exactly, Rivera said. If the ancient council had welcomed humanity into galactic civilization, 3,000 years ago we would have developed differently. We would have learned your ways, adopted your technologies, and become part of your community. Instead, we were forced to develop everything ourselves. But now you're technologically superior to us, Admiral Zarian pointed out. In some areas, yes, Rivera admitted. In others, you're far ahead of us. That's why cooperation makes sense. We have much to learn from each other. Elder Counselor Vexthon was quiet for a long moment. What about the external threat you mentioned? The ships approaching from beyond the galaxy? Rivera's expression became grim. Our latest analysis suggests they'll arrive in 4 months, not 6. The fleet is larger than our initial estimates, possibly 10,000 vessels or more. They're using dark matter manipulation and entropy-based weapons that can age entire star systems. How do you know so much about them? Director Kental asked suspiciously. Because we've encountered similar technology before, Rivera replied. Not these specific beings, but others who used comparable methods. Humanity has been exploring beyond our solar system for decades. We've met things out there that you wouldn't believe. And you never thought to warn us? Admiral Zarian demanded. Warn you of what? Rivera asked. We were imprisoned in our own system, remember? Besides, would you have believed reports from the species you considered too dangerous to release? The council members looked at each other uncomfortably. Rivera was right. They would never have taken such warnings seriously. What can these external ships do? Vexthon asked. Rivera activated new displays showing weapon analysis. They can destabilize suns, collapse planetary cores, and convert organic matter into energy for their own use. They're not here to conquer. They're here to harvest everything alive in this galaxy. How do we fight something like that? Supreme Minister Veldan asked. Together, Rivera said simply. Human military doctrine combined with council resources and technologies. We each have strengths the other lacks. What kind of timeline are we looking at? Admiral Zerion asked, his hostility replaced by professional concern. If we start preparing now, we might have enough ships and defenses ready when they arrive, Rivera replied. But it will require total cooperation between our civilizations. And after the threat is dealt with? Vexthon asked. What then? Rivera stood up. Then we'll have proven that humans and council species can work together for the benefit of everyone. Maybe we can build something better than what existed before. The chamber fell silent as the council members considered their options. Finally, Elder Counselor Vexthon spoke. The full council will vote tomorrow, but I can tell you that this inner circle is leaning toward accepting your proposal. What changed your minds? Rivera asked. Vexthon smiled sadly. The realization that we have no real choice. You're offering us partnership, but you're also making it clear that you'll continue growing with or without us. At least as partners, we might have some influence on how that growth happens. And the external threat gives us a chance to prove that cooperation works, added Director Chental. Rivera nodded. Humanity has been alone for 3,000 years. We're ready to be part of something larger, but only as equals. As Rivera left the chamber, the council members sat in contemplative silence. They were about to vote on the most important decision in galactic history, whether to welcome their former prisoners as equals or watch them reshape the galaxy on their own terms. Either way, the age of human containment was over. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's new flagship, watching the massive fleet assembled before her. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council voted to accept humanity as full members. Now that decision would be tested against the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. Report, she ordered her tactical officer. The external fleet has reached the outer rim, Commander Zhang announced. Sensors show 12,147 ships of unknown configuration. They're destroying everything in their path. Planets, space stations, even asteroid fields. Nothing organic is being left alive. Through the view screen, Sarah could see the combined defense fleet. Human ships flew alongside council vessels in formations that would have been impossible just months ago. The integration had been challenging, but both sides had learned quickly when survival was at stake. Admiral, called Lieutenant Rodriguez from communications, Elder Counselor Vexthon is requesting a final strategy conference. Put him through, Sarah replied. The holographic display showed the ancient council leader aboard his command ship. Around him, Sarah could see representatives from dozens of species, all working together in what had once seemed impossible. A truly unified galactic defense. Admiral Chen, Vexthon began, our scouts report that the enemy fleet will reach the core systems in 18 hours. Are your forces ready? As ready as we can be, Sarah replied. The combined fleet is the largest military force in galactic history. If we can't stop them, nobody can. The irony is not lost on me, Vexthon said with a sad smile. 3 months ago, we feared humanity would conquer the galaxy. Now we're depending on you to save it. We're depending on each other, Sarah corrected. This isn't a human victory or a council victory. This is survival for everyone. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on the human bridge, reviewing last-minute technical reports. Admiral, the new hybrid weapon systems are testing perfectly. Combining our kinetic technology with council energy manipulation has created something neither of us could have built alone. And the defensive networks? Sarah asked. Every inhabited system now has combined human council shield generators. If our mobile fleet fails, the planets can still defend themselves for weeks. Sarah nodded grimly. The preparation had been incredible. Human industrial capacity combined with council scientific knowledge had produced weapons and defenses that exceeded anything either civilization had created independently. Contact from the enemy fleet, Rodriguez announced. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it through, Sarah ordered. the view screen filled with an image that chilled everyone who saw it. The being was tall and angular, with features that seemed to shift between organic and mechanical. When it spoke, its voice carried undertones that hurt to hear. "Organic entities of this galaxy," the being announced. "You are scheduled for harvesting. Surrender all biological materials immediately, and your suffering will be minimized. Resistance will only delay the inevitable consumption of your life force." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. "Well," Sarah said after a moment, "at least they're direct about their intentions." "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. The enemy has made their position clear. We fight not just for our civilizations, but for the right of life to exist in this galaxy. Show them what happens when free people stand together." The battle began at the edge of the galaxy, where advanced human scouts engaged the enemy fleet. The initial reports were terrifying. The enemy ships used weapons that aged matter at the molecular level, turning solid metal into cosmic dust in seconds. But the combined fleet had prepared for this. Human ships, built to absorb incredible damage, served as shields for the more fragile Council vessels. In return, Council energy weapons, enhanced by human targeting systems, struck with devastating precision. "Enemy flagship identified," Commander Zhang reported. "It's massive, larger than anything in our databases." "Take us in," Sarah ordered. "All ships focus fire on the command vessel. If we can disrupt their coordination, we might have a chance." The UES Defiance led the charge, flanked by Council battleships and supported by fighter wings from a dozen different species. The enemy flagship responded with weapons that tore holes in space itself, but the combined fleet pressed forward. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported the damage control officer. "Casualty reports coming in from across the fleet. Keep firing," Sarah ordered. "We don't need to destroy them all. We just need to break their command structure." On planets throughout the galaxy, billions of beings watched the battle through emergency broadcasts. Human civilians worked alongside alien refugees, sharing food and shelter while their defenders fought among the stars. "Admiral," Dr. Vasquez called from her science station, "I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the enemy flagship. They're preparing some kind of superweapon. Time to impact? 3 minutes. The energy signature suggests it can destroy entire star systems." Sarah made a decision that would define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. "All human ships, this is Admiral Chen. Ramming speed. We end this now." "Sarah, no." Vexthon's voice came through the communications. "There has to be another way." "There is no other way," Sarah replied calmly. "Our ships are built to take damage. If we can reach their flagship before it fires, we can stop them. Tell the galaxy that humanity kept its promise." The human fleet accelerated toward the enemy flagship, their weapons firing continuously. One by one, Council ships joined the desperate charge. Species that had been enemies for millennia flew side by side, united in their determination to protect their home galaxy. The enemy superweapon fired just as the combined fleet reached the flagship. The beam of pure entropy struck the UES Defiance directly, but the ship's redundant systems and incredible armor held long enough for the final attack. Human kinetic weapons, fired at point-blank range, tore through the enemy flagship's defenses. Council energy weapons overloaded the alien ship's power systems. In a brilliant explosion that could be seen from neighboring star systems, the enemy command ship was destroyed. With their leadership gone, the enemy fleet fell into chaos. Some ships retreated toward the galactic rim. Others continued fighting with mechanical determination, but their coordination was broken. The combined fleet, though badly damaged, had won. 6 months later, Admiral Chen stood in the rebuilt Council chambers, wearing a new uniform that combined human and galactic insignia. The ceremony was unlike anything in recorded history, the founding of the Galactic Alliance, with humanity holding a permanent seat as equals among the stars. "The irony," Elder Counselor Vexthan said during his speech, "is that we imprisoned humanity because we feared they would change our civilization. We were right to fear change, but wrong about what that change would mean." "How so?" Ambassador Rivera asked. He now served as humanity's permanent representative to the Alliance. "We feared humanity would conquer us," Vexthon replied. "Instead, they inspired us. They showed us that different species can work together, that strength comes from unity rather than dominance, and that the galaxy is vast enough for everyone to find their place." "Captain Chen," recently promoted to Grand Admiral of the Alliance Fleet, stood at the podium to address the assembly. 3,000 years ago, your ancestors made a decision based on fear. They looked at humanity and saw a threat to be contained, but fear is not a foundation for lasting peace. She gestured to the mixed crews working throughout the chamber, humans and aliens side by side, each contributing their unique skills to the common good. Today we begin something new, not human expansion or council tradition, but a true alliance of equals. We face the unknown together, explore the galaxy together, and build a future where every species can thrive. The formal vote was unanimous. The Galactic Alliance was established, with Earth joining the Council worlds as founding members. But perhaps more importantly, the vote established new principles that would guide galactic civilization for millennia to come. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Chen found herself alone with Elder Counselor Vexthon on an observation deck overlooking the Nexus Station's vast starfield. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Vexthon asked. "Accepting humanity as equals?" Chen smiled as she watched human and alien ships preparing for their next mission, joint exploration of the intergalactic void where the enemy fleet had originated. "Elder, you didn't have a choice," she replied gently. "You could either accept us as partners or watch us expand on our own. But by choosing partnership, you created something neither of our civilizations could have achieved alone. And the future? The future is what we make it," Chen said. "Together." Below them, the first joint exploration fleet departed for the edge of the galaxy. The ships bore the symbols of both human engineering and council science, crewed by beings who had learned to see their differences as strengths rather than threats. The isolation zone that had once contained humanity had become the launching point for the galaxy's expansion into the infinite cosmos. The species that had been feared as conquerors had become the galaxy's greatest protectors, not through force, but through the simple recognition that all intelligent life deserved the chance to reach for the stars. As Admiral Chen watched the ships disappear into hyperspace, she reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment.